First show of October, second day of October, first show. So we're talking about some weekend warrior tension, more EVs than ICE, and YouTube warming up NADA's venue for us. Very nice of them. So nice of them to do it.
They did, yeah. They got in, you know, they gave it a little love before NADA.
Get all the kinks out. We needed an opening act. So
that's right. That's right. Man,
we'll
Paul,
talk about
I think
that
my voice is like totally back this morning.
I'm back too.
ASOTU CON last week.
I'm back. But I was feeling like all weekend long, I was like, nah, not quite. But yeah, we're back. We're back, yep. Which is a right because last time, like, it probably took a week at least. At least. You know what hasn't been lost, though? I mean, gosh, you just go on LinkedIn and you just see so many people impacted by what happened in Baltimore, and our team, like we might have had, 30 seconds to high five and celebrate the win. We're like, we need to get started on next year.
I know. We already were planning the venue, and we're
on the way home.
Bunch of stuff.
So my family drove in because we're in Syracuse, and it was like a 6-hour drive, better than hauling a family across an airport. And we were on the way home, and I'm starting to talk about next year we could. She's like, "Are you serious right now? Are you serious?" She's like, "We're just getting home, and you're already talking about next year." But that's
that's like happens. We have this massive spreadsheet that helps plan us, and I was like, why wouldn't I just copy the spreadsheet right now, delete everything and start over?
And then just send it out to all the directors. And then send it out to everybody. Be like, well, just because. No, for real, though, we're excited to be ahead in ASOTU world, right? Like, we're going to be rolling into our third year soon. Not yet, but our third year of ASOTU CON. And so, I think we've realized what the event actually could be. And so I think we hit the nerve. People are realizing what it is. We got a general form submission today. It's just like, hey, can I get information on next year's ASOTU CON sponsorship? So if you know anything about startup life, year 3 is when it all starts to come together, right? And we're kind of like getting on the runway to year 3. Yep. So, I mean, gosh, the startup life, it's like a roller coaster with no seatbelt.
Yeah. Full. Oh, that's exactly it. Like, oh goodness.
No seatbelt.
Lots coming in hot. Hey, first of all, thanks again to Cars and Stream for helping us put on what we did last week, for throwing down and saying, hey, we're going to be a part of this. Also for Effective for sponsoring our podcast booth. I think we did like 20 or 21 podcasts.
Oh, they're my favorite part of it.
On In the Dirt. I know, because I was only a part of like 3 of those. Right? 3, maybe 4.
I think I was about in the same boat.
This is the one time because normally you and I are just on all the podcasts. So I rarely go back and listen unless I'm like, oh, I really want to hear that back. But these are ones I go in and I'm like, yep, I'm going to check this out.
Which is never. Like, you don't listen to your own stuff. You just make too much of it to ever do that. Now, these are great. I remember this being some of the most fun content coming out of last year, were these little 10 to 12-minute podcasts. And the podcast stage was so dialed in this year, and the sound was great, and the guests were great. I had, I sat down, one of the people I interviewed was Liza Borges, and, obviously we talk a lot. And so we sit down. She's like, what are we talking about? I was like, I have 0 plans. So let's just see where this goes.
I got to interview, you don't even know, but I got to interview Jimmy Douglas, who had his plug announcement there.
Yep.
And I got to know some history about him. I was like, wait a second, you do what? You're going to have to listen.
That's going to be first on my list. That's first on my list. Hey, thanks to everybody showing up in the live stream. Jared, Felicia, Adrian, next year is your year. She had FOMO for ASOTU CON this year. Next year is your year. Mark our words. Also, we have a More Than Cars premiere episode coming out. What day is that?
I think next Wednesday. We got like a week and a half to it. We'll get all the details out today on the socials, and we'll start inviting everybody. It'll come.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one.
It's really.
And at ASOTU CON, we played a 4-episode mashup. I don't know if we're going to release that or not publicly, but it was awesome.
It was.
So all right, it's good to see all these, like when people treat each other well, and you see the culture is how people are treating each other, like things are moving in the right direction. Speaking of understanding the culture by how people treat each other. Stop. Oops. Wrong one.
UAW update.
Oh, I think we have a pretty clear picture
Unlike
of the
this
culture
face.
in Detroit right now. Just lock that thing in purpose. Weekend tensions were rising between the UAW and Detroit Big Three as 7,000 additional workers went on strike. Ford CEO Jim Farley alleges the union is holding automakers, quote, hostage with unreasonable demands, stating that, quote, a bad deal would threaten midsize or expensive larger vehicles. And if the goal is a historic contract, well, he's like, there's already a historic contract on the table waiting for a signature. UAW President Shawn Fain countered that by accusing Farley of, quote, directly lying about the state of negotiations. Fain emphasized bargaining is always a two-way street and criticized the companies for frequently shifting their stance. The dispute now engages about 25,000 workers. Niall Maxwell, owner of 4 Stellantis stores. This is great to get a dealer's opinion real time. He's also the chairman of the Stellantis National Dealer Council, voiced concerns about the ongoing strike's impact on inventory and the parts supply chain. He's been stockpiling fast-moving parts and highlighted the potential crunch on Jeeps and Gladiator inventory. And he said, quote, any additional strike targets are just going to cripple the entire supply chain. He urges more strategic thinking and less bluster. We agree with you, sir.
We agree. There's 2 things that I want to point to here. One is that that there was, I think Steve Greenfield shared in his weekly update that essentially the ICE vehicles that are getting produced have the capacity potentially to pay for this change in the way that the union agreement is structured, but the EV vehicles do not have the capacity to do that based on the expense and the revenue in those EV lines. So it's this fine balance.
Unless
again,
they want to take IOUs.
I owe you is something. And then the other piece of this is that I think, and this is really important for all of your employees, is the UAW strike is starting to hit a really, really broad market audience. It's leaking its way deeper and deeper into regular communication pathways of mass media, of social media, and we're starting to see even search intent, people wondering about it. I'm at church yesterday, and 4 people come up and ask me about
what's
the UAW
the deal
strike.
with this strike? Yeah,
exactly.
We're starting to see it on the front pages of the news outlets when we search, not the auto section.
That's where your people need to be generally educated about how it's impacting your store, how they can talk to consumers about it, and what that means for pursuing buying habits at this point. So that's where like you can get that drilled down into your team, how you as an organization are going to communicate to your customers on the phone and in the showroom about this strike.
I think it was Patrick Abad who, had a great line about, Mr. Mrs. Customer, it's our job to make sure the strike doesn't impact you. Right? Pretty dope language. All right. Speaking of, I don't know, EVs and nice and inventory.
Stop.
Yeah,
Segue.
Time. This is a really fun article. Automotive News this morning. Flashback to 2017. Automotive News released its very first annual future product pipeline listing. Future product pipeline, like it was like a supplement or an edition, listing all the plug-in vehicles headed to market. It was a really short periodical. The Chevy Bolt was a fresh face, and Elon Musk was touted as a champion of a progressive audience as he announced his ambitious promise of a $25,000 Model 3. Today, the Model 3, fast forward, right? They just released this episode 6 years later. That's it. Today, the Model 3 is the #1 selling EV on the market, even though it never caught up to that $35,000 price point. And the Generation 1 Bolt is being discontinued. Since then, the landscape's evolved dramatically, and the list of EVs coming to market over the next 18 months is actually a good bit longer than the list of ICE vehicles coming to market.
Quite impressive. Yeah.
6 years, right? So I'm not going to read the whole list, but there's 50. You can check the show notes. There's 50 vehicles listed in here from A to Z. I won't say A to Z. We need an automaker with a Z in it because it's just A to V right now. We have Audi to Volvo or Acura to Volvo, and you can check it out. But there's the whole slew of vehicles from pickups to sports cars.
Here's the 3 interesting
delivery
ones for
vehicles.
Here's the 3 interesting ones to me. The Dodge Challenger EV, Interesting. The Dodge Charger EV. Again, interesting. High sports cars, gas guzzlers. And then this is the really weird one. The Porsche Taycan. Like, if I want
why
is it
weird?
Go fast. Like, I don't know if I want an EV as a Porsche.
Let me give you an anecdotal story. So a friend of mine sold a great marketing agency a couple of years ago, and I was going to pick up my dogs from the kennel coming home from ASOTU CON, and I got a phone call, and there was a Porsche Taycan behind me, and it was him. And he was like, "Hey, I thought that was you." I was like, "Did the Eagle sticker give me away?" And then so we're driving, and I was like, "What happened to the Tesla?" Because he had like a Model S. And he said, I wanted something new. And I was like, well, what do you think? You just went from the real nice Model S to this brand new Porsche. He said, I missed some of the tech. He goes, but the driving experience is so much better in this one. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, to your point.
Yeah. Porsche.
Yeah, you're like,
known as the driver's car for sure.
The driver's car.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, but there's a bunch of stuff on this list, which is really fun. Like delivery vehicles, also the Cruise Origin, which is a driverless vehicle with 2 bench seats that face one another and room for cargo in the middle for these autonomous. Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, dude, 6 years though. That's it. 6 years.
That's it. That's all it takes. Total. Like when we say EVs are coming, whether you like it or not, and when Mike Stanton sits on the stage and says EVs are coming, they're coming. It's how we deal with it as a market.
Here are 50 of them right here. Speaking of really unanticipated experiences.
Segue game is it's
bad
we've been
today.
Stop.
It's okay.
Segue.
Can't get it all.
If you haven't been on the internet this weekend, let us introduce you to the YouTube show that is taking basically all of social media and YouTube by storm. YouTube kicked off a new era of live performances at Las Vegas's groundbreaking Sphere venue, which also will be the location of, get this, the NADA show welcome reception this year. The $2 billion Sphere made full use of the 16K resolution wraparound screen as 18,600 fans lost their minds across social media. Basically, standing room admission only was $200 face value and above, with parking costing at least $100.
Got him.
This is cool. U2 is actually going to be playing 25 shows at the Sphere. And if you haven't seen it, you can click on the link in our show notes or just search U2 Sphere anywhere on social media. And just this is what blew my mind when they say like groundbreaking new type of performance. Typically what you get, and this was in the article here, typically what you get when you go to a concert venue or you go to a stadium is you get really loud sound, but not super clear, crisp sound. And you get a bunch of flashing lights, but not like an immersive experience. But in the Sphere, everything is set up with sound design and experience design at its core. And so you get this, even on the videos, this just super clear, crisp, like sound, and then this immersive experience all around you. They did crazy stuff with the video. It's insane. Whole new thing.
I have a question. I have one question. Does Gen Z know who U2 is?
They do now.
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. And Nathan, our producer, and I were talking about this right before the show started. I was like, I'm glad it was U2 because they are the ones that first like came up with the fact that like we're gonna bring, like with the Zoo TV tour, like we're gonna bring a bunch of screens on tour with us. Right. No one ever did that before. They kind of kicked that off. So it makes sense if you know your rock and roll history that it would be them. But I mean, I would say the next band that could like pull that off. I mean, anybody can pull it off kind of in this place, but Coldplay is kind of like millennials U2, right?
Yep.
It's the band where the music kind of is unconventional, brings everybody together. But I don't think Gen Z has a U2 yet.
Well, what's cool? You know what's funny? Coldplay, in the antithesis of the Sphere, you know where they played this weekend? The Rose Bowl. Which is
right.
Like just a
probably
big
the
old
worst
open
sound.
air football stadium.
Worst sound ever. Right. Yeah, no kidding. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. But the cool part is that you and I, the ASOTU crew, and thousands, probably maybe, I mean, everyone's going to try to come to this, but
Absolutely.
Maybe 20, maybe we'll pack it out. Maybe 18,000 dealers and
that could
auto industry professionals will be in the sphere for the NADA welcome reception. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty hotly attended. So we'll see you there in just a few months, February. But it's cool to see YouTube warming it up, getting the bugs out and all that stuff. Right. So I think that's a show.
That's it. Roll into Monday, y'all. Let's go.
Man, we got a lot of work to do this week. We'll get it done. Check us out on social media. Follow us on LinkedIn because that's the place where all the conversation goes. And keep posting that ASOTU CON content.